So we're back for part 2 of our conversation with Greg Cutchall of Cutchall Management Company. Back into our conversations and our stories of his story to success over all these years. Thanks for joining us again. So spinning off on that last piece there, talking about the people that you surround yourself with, you've still got dozens of locations, right?
Yeah, I operate, I'm an owner in 54 locations and have controlling interest of 34 locations.
So what kind of infrastructure and what kind of people infrastructure does it take to support that and run all of those effectively within your organization, within Cutchall Management?
Well, a lot of things can be outsourced, and I do recommend that for some people. I've always been kind of a little bit of a control freak. So we do all our own accounting in the office. So I've got a director of marketing, a business manager, a CFO, 2 senior accountants, 2 support people, and a human resource director. So in my office that are there pretty much regular every day. A couple of the accounting people, we're letting office outside now. They'll come in once a week, but it's worked. It's worked well. And then on the operations level, I've got 4 guys on the Domino's side that are above store level that are overseeing markets. I sold controlling interest of Sonic. We still own 34%. And then my Sonic partner's been great, by the way. He was an awesome find. We helped him finance it. He'd been at Sonic for 25 years and proved great track record. And, sometimes it's more about what they know than how much money they have.
You have a lot of faith in people, don't you?
Yeah, you got to. If you want to grow, and that's what I want. I never wanted to run one restaurant 60 hours a week by myself. And the only way you get out of that is you start giving up a little control and let people make some mistakes. Just let them stub their toe. That's how they learn, and that enables me to grow. That's about half my restaurants. At Domino's, where I've got 3 or 4 area managers, president, director of operations, and then 2 or 3 area managers. And then the other half of my company is what I call my full service or fast casual division. So it's everything except for fast food. So it's Lettuce Express, Paradise Bakery, Jams, Salty Senorita, Kasai is an Asian steakhouse we got involved in Phoenix a few years ago. So I have a COO that oversees all of those concepts, and then under him, he's got 2 or 3 area guys. So
gotcha.
Yeah, it works out pretty good.
Got a good hierarchy set up.
Yeah, for sure.
So not everybody's going to get into the, I'll call it rarefied air of ownership of the number of brands and the number of businesses that you have. In particular, the mix of the franchises versus independently owned. But for those folks that are looking to get into multi-unit ownership, or they've just started into it, any nuggets of advice that you'd suggest to those folks?
It's I don't want to even say it's changed because it's always been my philosophy, but it's even more so important now that if they want to grow, when you say multi-unit, you're not saying multi-concept. You're saying, look, we're going to buy this brand and we want to develop it. It's as tight as the labor market is. That will be key to your growth. Now, you need to go in and run that first store yourself, and you need to know it inside and out. I don't care if it's in the restaurant business or a different franchise. You need to know it inside and out. But at some point, I always suggest you bring in some kind of a partner, whether they buy in out of profits or they have some money they can throw at it, or to me, that for your number 2 guy, and see how he does. Now, if he can develop a team, without giving up ownership, great. But I think that's something you have to look hard at. It also depends on the complexity of the franchise. There's some that maybe, gosh, you don't need 10 locations. Maybe it's just a business that just grows, like our friend that has the Red Box. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
There's another name.
Red Box Plus.
Red Box Plus, yeah.
You got it.
Yeah, I was intrigued by that. I actually looked at that for a while, and I'm trying to help him with some stuff right now. there it's not about, I guess it's a little bit about locations because he has territories and, he wants to pick up some
more about the containers.
Yeah, exactly. But, he's in a tough niche market there that's very competitive, although his product's superior, contractors and everybody's looking for the price. And we're kicking around some marketing ideas that he can say, yeah, we cost a little bit more, but we're worth it. Do you want this parked in front of your house or do you want this parked in front of your house?
Yeah.
His units are beautiful. So I think that's important. You really have to educate yourself, and you need to get somebody like yourself to consult. I do a fair share of consulting, Blake, but what I've learned is 80-90% of them come to me when they're in trouble. How do I fix this? I go, well, your lease stinks. How'd you get that? Why'd you agree to that lease? And, I've been able to even negotiate some stuff out of franchise agreements, depending on how big a company they are. The bigger they are, the less they'll negotiate. The smaller they are, they may. I've always felt like for a startup franchise, which is probably what we do at Lettuce, is their royalty would be rolling based on their sales. So I don't want to bury them with 5% right off the top if they can't afford it. I just know, the average store will do this much. And when you're hitting that, you're going to pay 5%. But before then, it might be 2, 3, 4. Those are some things. The other thing that people find, or maybe surprises people, when it looks like I'm a franchise addict with all the different franchises I've owned, I can tell you that
a franchise addict, that's a new phrase.
Well, 3 or 4, at least 4 of the brands that I've operated were acquired because I had a location that wasn't working, and I either owned the property or I was stuck in a lease. So this goes back to, let's see, the first one I did would have been Burger Star. I opened on 72nd Pacific. We would kill it, line to the door from 11 to 2, 11:30 to 1:30, then nothing. You could shoot a cannon through the place. Wasn't open for breakfast, and it was a nice end cap, nice patio. And I go, we're looking around the trade area. I go, wow, what a great spot for one of those brunch places, breakfast, lunch, right? So first thing I do is I try and call these guys and say, hey, do you want this spot? It'll be a little key money, but I'll leave, no, nobody's interested. I said, well, I'm going in the breakfast business. So I researched it for about 2 years, Egg and I, Jimmy's Egg, whoever else was out there, and really fell in love with First Watch and met these guys at a restaurant conference and said, I got a spot. I want to do a store and cut a deal and converted that to First Watch. We actually lost money for 18 months.
Is that right?
We had the restaurant review lady come out, and she said we were a cut above, Village Inn or something. Which was not a good recommendation for from scratch kitchen chef-driven menu. Well, people finally caught on, and First Watch, way before I was involved, was voted best breakfast in town in 15 cities across the country. So I knew our product was good. Now, unfortunately, my development agreement ran out because I signed to do 4 of them because I wasn't going to open another one until, this one started making money. Well, about the second year, it just started kicking in, and it just exploded. And now I've got 6 locations, and it's my highest volume location. It's killing it. It's one of the top 10 in the country now.
Wow.
It just took a while to people to discover how good our food is, really, and how good our service is, and how cool our spaces are. So then First Watch was on a big expansion mode, and they acquired Egg and I's. Well, there was a local franchisee for Egg and I that wasn't doing very well. And it took us 2 years. We finally negotiated a deal to buy his Egg and I's. He wanted a 10 multiple of EBITDA, and I go, no, we're not doing that. And finally came down to a reasonable price, and we cut a deal, and we converted all 4 of those to Egg and I. First Watch. So we went from 1 store to 5 within 6 months, and then we've opened a store out at Village Point West, I call it. It's on 180th and Dodge. And that's now our second highest volume location. And we are developing a First Watch at Southport now, and we're in discussions with a Lincoln location as well. So that's been a great brand. It's also been a great brand from the aspect of hiring, because we close at 2:30 every day.
Uh-huh.
So, mom can go and work breakfast and brunch and lunch and get tips all the way through and be home in time for her kids to get home from school. So, yeah, I love that brand. The other one, how I got into was Domino's. I used to own half the Sonics in town, and the parent company, corporate, owned the other half. And I never liked sharing a market, because they didn't run the stores like we did, as well as we did. They'd hire managers, we'd fire. Their stores were dirty, their service was slow. They weren't putting drive-throughs on, which I was one of the first franchisees in the country to put a drive-through on a Sonic.
Is that right?
They said no. They fought me on it. They go, "That's not our style." I go, "Well, you haven't been in Nebraska yet. We need drive-throughs." And to this day, it's 70% of our business. We can have 30 stalls out there, and they're starting to get used now. But so we knew when we acquired them, we were going to have to close 2, and we acquired 9 of them. But the price was right. There was 2 that they never should open. They were open too close to stores that I had already opened. And we were able to lease one spot, sublease the other spot. And again, the same thing. I called Little Caesars. I called Jimmy John's. I called all my friends in the business. "Hey, I got this great location at 71st and Military, and it's hurting my store on 90th, and, you interested?" No, we're too close, or that doesn't work for me. And Domino's had been chasing me for a while. And I was at a conference and heard their president speak. This was back in maybe 2008, 9, 10, when they changed their recipes and really did this turnaround. They went on TV and said, "Yeah, we hear you, America. Our product's not very good, and
that was memorable, wasn't it?
We're going to fix it." Yeah, that's why our slogan today is still, "Oh, yes, we did," because everybody and I had the chance to get to know Patrick, the CEO at the time, and he says, "Well, Greg," he says, "we were in such a mess." He goes, "I figured I had to do something, Barnum and Bailey, and I figured worst case scenario, it wasn't going to work, and my predecessor would have quite a mess to clean up." So again, that's how I got into Domino's. And again, I didn't sign any development agreement. I go, "I'll do one." They had 5 stores in the market owned by 4 different people, and they were, mom and pops, and really weren't looking at expanding. And, so over the next 10 years, I acquired all those stores and opened another 8, and we've got 17 of them now. But again, I probably wouldn't be in Domino's if I didn't have that Sonic that I was pretty much stuck with.
Right.
Same thing with Twin Peaks. I was opening a Paradise Bakery in in Dallas. And the night before we opened, I always take my managers out to dinner. And they go, "Greg, you care if we go to Twin Peaks and watch the games?" And I go, "Yeah, I never heard of it. Let's go there." And I walk in there, and I go, "This is a famous Dave's on steroids, with a bunch of TVs and pretty girls and cold beer." And I had made the mistake, 2 mistakes on Famous Dave's. One, I found it and was working hard to cut a deal with them. Couldn't cut the deal I wanted. And Willie Thiessen's a very good friend of mine. We've been buddies for 30 years. And, I always tell him what I'm doing. I go, "I'm looking at this. I like this barbecue thing, man. These guys are doing $5 million a year in Lincoln and blah, blah, blah." And they wouldn't give me the whole market. And that frustrated me. So Willie called me one day. He says, "You going to do anything with Dave's?" And I go, "I don't think so. I just signed the Sonic deal. They won't give me the whole market." He goes, "You care if I talk to him?" I go, "No. I'll go up. I'll introduce you to everybody up there. They all know me. I've been stalking them for 2 years." And, they loved getting Willie Thiessen. That was a big feather in their hat. Yeah. And Willie told them, "Look, I'll do Phoenix, I'll do Denver, but you got to give me all Omaha." I don't think he ever had any intention of doing Phoenix and Denver, but they said, okay. They just gave it to him. I'd been working 2 years on it, and, And so I helped Willie get started. I recruited his management team, and his contractor he did have a connection on. The location that he picked was the location the parent company was willing to give me, just to do one. And I did all his accounting for him, and really helped him get established because he'd been out of the business for quite a while. And first year, he does $5 million in sales and sends $1 million to the bottom line. At this time, I'd been on my own for 12 years and had maybe a dozen restaurants, and combined they didn't do $1 million a year in profit. And I go, oh my God, hide the sharp objects.
That's the one you gave up.
Yep. So, well, and eventually Willie sold them to me. We were partners in the old market. I opened one in Wichita, and then eventually he started selling me his stores. And I made the mistake after I acquired them from him. Omaha is really set for 2 or 3 locations. What I learned the hard way with barbecue is you don't have to make it convenient, because people eat barbecue once every 5 weeks. They don't care if they have to drive 5 miles. But me, my mentality was saturate the market, you get all the good locations. So after I acquired them from Willie, I converted my Austin steakhouse on 120th and L to a Dave's. And then I took the Chili's building on 132nd and Maple and made it a Dave's. Mm-hmm. Big mistake. 132nd and Maple hurt 71st and Ames and 171st and Center, because it was right between them. Oh. And then the old Austins hurt L Street. So that's the store I had targeted. That one store that was doing $5 million a year was now doing $1.5 million a year. Because blame me. The newness wore off. There's no doubt about that. But and then it hurt the Ames store. I was never able to bring that store back, and the store on Maple never did that well because there was a famous Dave's on either side of it. So you learn some stuff the real hard way. That's for sure. So that's the store I converted to Twin Peaks. That's how I got into Twin Peaks. Otherwise, I never would have been in Twin Peaks. And did $3.3 million its first year, and opened one in Des Moines, and 5 years later sold them back to the parent company for a nice profit, and it was a great run. What else did I convert? There's Twin Peaks, Sonic, First Watch. I'm sure there's one other that, like I said, at least 3 or 4 is how I got into those brands, was survival. I don't like paying rent if I'm not operating or if I'm losing money. So I'm sure I'll think of the other one, but that's been a lot of my success is second-generation locations and converting them to a different concept. Mouth of the South was very similar.
Right.
He actually was, the guy who founded that was actually my tenant at 71st and Ames when I couldn't make it there. But I thought, boy, if anybody could, he could. He was the darling of the critics. His food's phenomenal. I like the kid. And he had the same problem at 71st and Ames that I did. Killed it for 9 months, and it's like they shut the lights off. So he came to me hat in hand and said, well, you can take my house. I guess you own Mouth of the South now, and I hope you'll open a location out west and hire me to run it for you. And I go, I'm not doing that. I said, I'll do better. We find the right location. I'll make you a partner. I'll put up the money. You pay me back out of profits, and we'll just move forward. Wow. And I probably gave him, twice what I needed to. I ended up giving him 48%, not because he asked for it. He was willing to come and work for me for nothing. For no ownership. But I thought, you know what? I've always been a big believer in karma. So my friends go, Greg, you could have given him 20%. He would have been happy. You could have taken his house. And I go, yeah, you know what? I gave him twice what I maybe needed to, but he's making me twice as much money as I ever thought he would. So we're in the process of opening our second one in the old market right now. It's going to be phenomenal. Right next to Jams at 11th and Harney. Hopefully 30 days. We've been waiting 6 months for our HVAC to come in from Mexico or wherever they make it. Yeah. So it's frustrating.
Supply chain does affect everybody.
Yeah, for sure. So that's a great brand. That's a brand that I would maybe take to Phoenix or Scottsdale in a year or two. But it was we went to a location that had failed 3 or 4 times. It was Ragazzi's on 168th. Before that, it was a couple sandwich places. I can't remember, Camellia's or something. Difference being, the access is one of the worst in Omaha. You can see it from 168th and Dodge, but try getting there. You got to go up to Walgreens and turn in and come in the back.
Right, yeah.
But I looked at it and I go, you know what? Olive Garden has the same crummy access we do, and their lot's full all the time. And I think the difference is people won't go through all that trouble to go stand in line to order food. But if they're going to sit down for an hour and a half,
why not?
And the food's good, they'll drive back there. And boy, have they. It's been phenomenal. We're doing, I would say 3 times what Ragazzi's was doing, and great reviews, and real excited about adding that to our portfolio.
Congrats on that.
Thanks.
So of all of these experiences and the accolades that you've gotten, et cetera, what are you most proud of in your career?
I would say surviving in one of the hardest businesses there is, something to be proud of. And
that being restaurants.
Yeah. And I would tell you, I see friends, restaurants close all the time, and I reach out to them, and I said, I've closed a dozen restaurants at least that didn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately, I had the infrastructure and the brands that were working, that carried me. And I said, there's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, I'm as good as they come, and I still make mistakes, and I still fail. And it's, you just hedge your bet. I'd say the next thing is just creating opportunities for people who have been loyal to me and help me grow. That's probably very, very proud of that. Mentoring and helping other franchisees not make me make some of the mistakes that I made. That's worth a lot.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
2 themes that I keep hearing. I know we're going to have to wrap up here soon, but one more question I want to ask you and an observation. 2 themes that keep coming up in all of your comments. You've had a relentless persistence with a dose of patience added in, it seems. And it really is who you know, building those relationships with people who are going to have a huge impact on your future.
Sure. No, that's true. No, that's definitely true, and I know when I'm inquiring about a different concept or whatever, I know darn well that franchisor is doing a background search and say, what's this guy done? What's his background and stuff. Right. So, keeping your reputation clean and professional and doing what you say you're going to do, and it goes a long ways with those guys. And I know you had more questions, and I'm sorry I rambled on some of those, but it's like...
That's what you're here for.
Yeah.
If this audience wanted to hear me ramble on all day, then they wouldn't have guests. That's not what they come for.
But no, you had some great questions. I read through them real quick, and you had some great questions in there. I didn't give you much time to ask them all, but...
That's okay.
Happy to help out and come back another time if you'd like.
Well, we appreciate your time very much.
Sure.
Let me close with one question. If there was any advice you were going to give to somebody who's thinking about starting a business, restaurant or not, what would you begin with? What would be your first couple pieces of advice?
Well, you always want to minimize your risk. You got to look out for your family and minimize your risk. But I've spoken for entrepreneur groups over the years, and I never thought twice about putting my house up when I was getting started. And some people, it just freaks them out. Yeah. And I go, well, you're not ready. And either you're not comfortable with the concept you're looking at, that you love it so much that you're going to refinance your house or risk your house or whatever. You can always go get a job and get another house. But that's probably number one, is just having that relentless. We used to have a slogan that said, "Failure's not an option." And every now and then we used to say, and money's not an object. But we just said that to scare people. Well, we're working on a toothpick half the time. I made payroll on credit card more than once, so trust me. So it's not fully true, but it motivates people. They know, like when I set an opening date, and somebody will walk in one of my restaurants and I say, we're going to be open in 10 days. And they look at me like I'm nuts. There's sawdust on the floor or whatever. Come back in 10 days, I'll be open. Failure's not an option. So... now, if somebody's holding up our HVAC like the old market mouth of the South, and it's kind of out of my control, but
right.
Is that it's going to be worth it when it's done. It's I'm a partner in that apartment building with some great guys, and they've were excited to see me put another restaurant in there.
I bet.
And it's been real good to work with under the circumstances with COVID and everything. I mean, I was trying to lease that spot before, Mouth of the South. I just opened Mouth of the South, so I wasn't ready to go down there. So I'm calling my buddies in the sports bar business, and, hey, I got a great site down here, and da-da-da, Jams does X amount, and blah, blah, blah. Nobody was interested. So fast forward a year and a half. I shouldn't say that. We had a seafood place out of Texas that was ready to sign the lease, and I was ecstatic. We were all happy because that's a big part of that building being successful. And COVID hit, and they pulled out. So it's set for another year. Well, by this time, I'd gotten Mouth of the South open, and it was exploding. I go, okay, I got a brand to put in there now. Called my partners, and I said, make me a deal, and I'll fill that space and have it open in a year. And they did, and stepped up, and super excited about that. Hopefully, like I said, sometime in February we'll be open. Want to make Mardi Gras, of course, kind of a New Orleans thing. But my guys that are and I normally run those projects, but I've had some health issues recently, and I put my COO in charge of it, and my Mouth of the South partner, and they've done a great job. They've gone to like auctions at Cocoa Keys, bought $10,000 chandeliers for $200, and
wow.
Cool stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, we found one chandelier that we converted to a saxophone chandelier where there's 10 saxophones hanging off of it, you know, over the waiting area, and some real fun stuff like that. So really excited about that.
Well, that story of persistence and adaptability is probably the ideal spot to wrap up this conversation.
Yep.
I could keep this going for hours, but
No
I
problem.
really appreciate
My
you
pleasure.
sharing and being open with your experiences. I can't imagine how many existing and future entrepreneurs that's going to help. So thank you
good.
so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay.
And thank all of you for enjoying another episode of the Heartland Franchise Guy. We'll see you again here on an episode very soon.